Medal of Honor is a franchise that has a rather interesting yet descending legacy. It started off as one of the best military-based shooters portraying the Second World War with DreamWorks at the helm, but over the years, with a change of developers and owners, Medal of Honor started to decline, with the real kicker coming around the release of Call of Duty, more specifically Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Up until then, both Call of Duty and Medal of Honor had decent aspects that bounced off each other, with Call of Duty having a wider appeal to the more action-focused side of things and multiplayer, while Medal of Honor kept the stove strong with the story and atmosphere. But when Modern Warfare came out, the appeal went from the Second World War to the current day, and unfortunately Medal of Honor just couldn't keep up. And after attempting a sort of soft reboot in 2010, they started off with some promise, but in 2012, after the somewhat lacking release of Medal of Honor Warfighter, EA decided enough was enough and Medal of Honor came to an end. And it would take about 8 years for the series to finally make a comeback with Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. And everything about it seemed promising. Respawn Entertainment were developing it. It was coming to VR, which after the buzz of Half-Life Alyx is a great sign. It had a surprise announcement for multiplayer. The trailers alone built up hype for it, and when it launched, it really could have gone better. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond launched with a bunch of issues, major performance issues, a lack of modern VR controls, grabbing weapons caused more hassle than needed, the body model would just glitch out randomly, there was no smooth turning, the file size was ridiculous, but the most problematic issue for certain users, myself included, was on the Steam version of the game. If you were using an Oculus Rift, the game would just struggle to run properly, which isn't actually a new problem with Steam VR, but it's never been on this scale. Certain games seem to have an issue with both Oculus and Steam VR's interface overlapping each other, but normally this is just either a minor performance problem or the game would just cut out Steam VR altogether. Medal of Honor, however, didn't have this. Oh my god! My game is freaking out.
So bad?
This is This would just make the game unplayable. Luckily, however, since the launch of the game, Respawn have really been on top of things and thrown out a few fixes within the first month, and a lot of the issues I just mentioned have been pretty much dealt with, and has made what was going to be a long-winded rant about the stability and performance of this game pointless. So thanks Respawn, you just saved me 5 minutes of this video. Something I've noticed, however, since all of this has been fixed, no one's really bothered to mention it, probably because there's another game out there already which currently is in the thick of it, but it's unfortunate to see because a few people were claiming this to be, and I quote, the worst VR experience ever, which, even with these problems, it really wasn't. Yes, the game does have problems, yes the file size is rather big, and even though I played through it with all these problems that were out at launch, I still had a lot of fun with it. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond puts you in the role of a lieutenant who's given the opportunity to join the OSS, after doing some rather heroic thing that you never see. Accompanied by your sergeant and squad mate, your assignment is to assist the French resistance with various tasks and finally rescue a spy from behind enemy lines. Whether it's by land, sea or even air, you're a jack of all trades and you're well equipped to tackle any obstacle that comes your way. The campaign has a total of 6 chapters, which can sound rather short at first, but the game can last you around 10 hours to complete. There's also a survival mode, a gauntlet mode which is sort of like a time trial mode, and finally the multiplayer mode. When it comes to multiplayer and survival, there's not a lot really to say about it because it's rather standard modes slapped in VR. The main meat of Medal of Honor comes from the campaign. Throughout each chapter you'll go through various scenarios and gimmicks that are specific to that chapter. You'll be shooting down planes, escaping a sinking ship, sledding down a mountain, picking up trash for Nazis. It's rare you'll do the same thing twice in separate chapters, and I think this benefits the overall replay value. I feel the introductory chapter is probably the weakest of the bunch outside of blowing up a train, as it doesn't offer a whole lot, but considering the rest of the chapters in this are amazing, I can let it slide because it eases you into the fun. When starting a chapter you'll be given a briefing of what to expect before going down to the Quartermaster. Here you can experiment with the weapons you'll find within the chapter, but also be shown how to use certain equipment that is specific to that chapter. It's basically just a glorified shooting range, but what I love about the Quartermaster is the optional gauntlet. Each chapter will have a gauntlet for you to run through, which is basically a landscape of the level you're about to play in, and the objective is pretty simple. Grab the bomb, plant the bomb, and kill all the enemies within a certain time. In a standard game this would be rather dull and basic, but within VR, these can put you into a mad dash of panic, and honestly, I couldn't get enough of them. And I wish they added more, but I guess that's what the survival mode is for. There's also on-rail sections in this game which I believe can be skipped if you suffer from motion sickness by just changing a simple option in the menu, but outside of one scenario where due to the performance the game just kept shitting itself, these can be quite a lot of fun. Besides the skiing one though, I'm not really a massive fan of that. A little bit of interesting trivia to go with Above and Beyond is originally this game wasn't even created with VR in mind. This was just going to be another standard FPS, but it wasn't until Facebook approached them that VR was even considered. And I think that was for the better because it paid off, as this is a hell of a lot of fun to play in VR. The game looks great visually in the headset since the desktop view really doesn't do it justice, and when it comes to the gunplay and sounds, it just heightens the experience. I think my only major complaints with the game would be certain weapons like the shotguns, bolt action rifles and lever action rifles are a bit underwhelming to reload. Normally in a VR title you'd reload a weapon like these by manually putting in bullets one at a time, but in Medal of Honor you just click a button and it does it for you. Or if there's a bolt action rifle, the mag is just bottomless. I can understand for convenience sake this makes sense because in a gunfight this can be quite a trouble, but I would like the option to do it anyway. The game can also feel slightly dated in certain aspects. Whenever something important is going to happen, instead of just having it happen around you so you can look at it or do something else like in Half-Life Alyx, the game expects you to walk into a certain spot and then it will fade to black and then lock you into a specific spot until it's over. This isn't game breaking but can certainly ruin the flow and break the immersion at points. I don't think this should have been a thing outside of briefing. Also, there's a lot of loading screens in this game because each chapter is broken up into missions and can basically ruin the flow of a story. I get the idea with this probably was there's going to be a lot of walking involved and would be quite boring, but you could have put something in the middle to make it a bit more interesting to link it together. Otherwise the chapters can feel a bit separated at points and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, the last thing, there's something really weird about these facial animations. I don't know what it is exactly, but they're a bit weird to say the least. At times you won't really acknowledge it as you're too busy focused on something else, but on certain occasions you'll just notice one and it's a bit jarring and very unsettling. Outside of the campaign, there's one last thing this game has to offer which to some won't sound that interesting, but to me, I found this fascinating. Ever since the first Medal of Honor back in 1999, one of the key areas they wanted to nail was the accuracy, and they did this by getting involvement from soldiers, and Respawn respected this, not only by interviewing veterans from the war, but also going literally above and beyond by turning the documentary into a sort of more immersive experience. And that's amazing! I can't stress this enough, if you play this game, dedicate some time or even a session to go through all of this. It's an experience worth going through, whether it's just the gallery going through other things you see in the levels, or just interview with the veterans. The inclusion of this alone is worth the praise and time. Would I say this game is worth full price of £50 though? No. I mean, personally I love the game, but for that price you could get a few better games and wait for this to go on sale. VR is definitely in a bit of a grey area when it comes to pricing. The quality and standards are still in dire need of improvements before we can really justify buying VR games at a high price frequently. Also, considering VR isn't cheap in the first place and this game requires a beast of a machine for it to run properly, you'd think they'd cut consumers some slack. But something tells me EA had more involvement with the pricing than Respawn. But that doesn't mean you should disregard the game altogether. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond is still a great game and it's one of the better VR games to come out of the year. Sure, it won't give you the same level of detail and depth as something like Boneworks or Half-Life Alyx, but there's still a lot of enjoyment to be had with it, and this game is one of the better VR titles to come out of a AAA studio. Yes, I'm looking at you, Borderlands. Looking back at the last year, the quality of VR titles has really started to make a steady increase, with Boneworks kicking things off at the end of 2019, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners keeping the excitement going, with Half-Life Alyx blowing it out of the park afterwards. And while Medal of Honor is not on the level of these games, it's not far behind them either. There's more VR titles on the horizon and I'm quite excited for a few of them. So if things keep going the way they are, VR is only going to improve. So I'm hopeful with what's to come.